So welcome again, everybody. We want to recognize our past district governors who are in the room with us, our district governor line, district governor-elect, district governor nominee, district governor nominee designate, to all of our AGs current, as well as our AG elects. We welcome you. And to any additional district committee members that we have in our midst. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. In the chat, you will see the beautiful blue background that's been designed by the PR team, and you should be able to download it. And at this moment, we're just going to share some guidelines for today's meeting before we start with our proceedings. In a moment, you will see both the French and the English. Okay, so we look at the general area. We ask, please, that you have your name displayed as well as the AG area that you're representing or your district role. Please have your microphone on mute so that we don't get background noise, and have your video on so that we can get to know each other a little better. This session is going to be recorded. It's being recorded already, so just that you know. And we do have our team, the learning team, managing the chat room. So if, as the presentations proceed, you have any questions, please write your questions in capital letters. And just a note that we don't have much time for question and answers. So if there are any responses that may be lengthy, we will put it in the parking lot, and we will follow up with you at a later point. Great, and Albert has sorted out his background. Great, thanks, Albert. Okay, folks, at this point, we're going to focus on effective leadership, leading with impact and influence. And we know that is in the AG role, I'm sure that you agree, but both of those areas, leadership and influence, are really critical roles. The relationship that you have and the relationship that you build with your club leaders, that's one of the things that contributes to making our Rotary district a lot stronger. While known for her business networking skills and her commitment to philanthropy, our presenter is a leading HR and recruitment service practitioner in Trinidad and Tobago, with over 30 years of service in that particular area. She lives the Rotary motto that we all know, service before self. And it's been part of her family, of her upbringing since she was a child. As a past district governor and the current RI Council of Legislation representative for our district, her influence and impact are felt within our club, the Rotary Club of Central Port of Spain, within the businesses and service industries throughout Trinidad and the Caribbean, and in our district, and of course the wider Rotary world. Let's welcome past district governor, Lara Quentrell-Thomas.
Thank you very much, past president Tanya, from one of the top Rotary clubs in the whole wide world. And and good evening to, I know, yes, Albert. Every club is the best club. I know that. I'm just joking. Thank you very much to DGE Soraya for inviting me to have this conversation with our assistant governors elect this evening. It's actually quite a hefty topic, and we only have 40 minutes or so to go through it together. So I want to just say that I'm very happy. Well, you will get a copy of the slides, I'm sure, but I'm very happy if any of the AGs elect want to have a conversation one-on-one or a small group after this session to really flesh out how some of these ideas can be put into practice, because obviously the topic of leadership, it's a pretty deep and wide conversation. But let's get started. I'm not in control of my slides this evening, which makes me quite nervous. Cheryl Ann knows I like to be in control, but we'll go with it anyway. We're uniting for good. So Jean-Marc, are you moving my slides?
It's now starting up. You're in very good hands.
I know. All right, let's go straight to the next slide, please, Jean-Marc. Yes, perfect. Okay, So this evening we have, as I mentioned, some pretty hefty topics, and we're really just going to briefly explore them and how they apply to your new role. And some of you, I'm sure, are returning as Assistant Governor to Rotary District 7030 and to the clubs that you're going to serve. It's important to put this into the context of what the Rotary incoming President Mario has talked about in terms of his goals and his theme for the 25-26 Rotary year. There are three key words that came out of the presentation we recently heard: innovation, continuity, partnerships. And I think if you as assistant governors, in delivering your message on behalf of the governor, delivering the district plan and goals and working with clubs to support them on projects, all of the things that you'll be doing in the coming Rotary year, if you frame it always in with those three things in mind, I believe that the clubs that you will be responsible for can be even more successful than they have in the past. So just a reminder, those keywords for 25-26 are innovation, continuity, and partnerships. So this evening I've been asked to speak to you about leadership, authentic versus transformational leadership, the opportunity for an assistant governor to be a role model, some thoughts on accountability, responsibility, and empathy, how to effectively communicate with volunteers. We all know that one of the biggest challenges in Rotary clubs is communication, or lack thereof, or poor communication. And then finally, we're going to have a look at some tools and practices for managing conflict. So I am going to try and clip through this fairly quickly, but as I said, happy to have any further conversations after today. So next slide, please, Jean-Marc. So at the RI International Assembly, which is where the governors-elect get trained in San Diego, the governors explored this year what it takes to grow and energize Rotary. And the answer is simple: making Rotary a place that people love to be. And I think this is a very important message for you as assistant governors to take out to the presidents. And I'm also, when I speak about Rotary, I'm including Rotaract and Interact. So take it as a given that all of this also applies to your support that you may give to our youth leaders. So some of the ways that we can do this as leaders in the district is, of course, listening, sharing. You should be supporting each other as AGs. But leadership really is all about action. And so the AGs and the DGs are encouraged in this new Rotary year to lead boldly, connect deeply, and keep the magic of Rotary alive. So think about, as you start preparing to take office on July 1st, what are some of the things that you can do to make the clubs in your cluster stronger in the coming Rotary year? Because even though clubs will be performing at different levels, trust me, you know this, I know this, every club has challenges of one sort or another. Maybe they're not growing fast enough. Maybe they're having challenges getting members to volunteer. So even the best and brightest clubs still have opportunities to improve. So this is something that you as AGs have to be very aware of and clued into, so that you can feel at the end of your year that the clubs you were in charge of really did perform above and beyond. So let's look into how we do that. Let's have the next slide, please. So one of the ways that we are able to motivate and manage and excite the Rotary clubs that are under our purview as AG is to be what we call an authentic leader. And there are many characteristics, and many of these actually align very closely with our Rotary Code of Conduct. Even the four-way test really speaks to your authenticity as a leader. But it really begins with you understanding what your values are, really understanding what your leadership style is, and being mindful of how that may impact other people, the Rotarians, the young people, even external stakeholders that you're going to engage with on this journey as an assistant governor. You know, we're doing so many things remotely now, which is great, very effective, very efficient tool, but we still have to be truly present. One of the things that was asked at the beginning of this session is to have your cameras on. And as somebody who's done a lot of online training, I have to tell you, as a trainer, and I'm sure many of the other PDGs will agree, it feels very disrespectful when people are on a Zoom call doing training and their cameras are off. It's hard enough to do it virtually without having that sort of added barrier of a black screen or an emoji or an avatar. So it's really important, especially when you are the one leading the conversation, to be truly present, to show the Rotarians that you are engaging with them, that you are listening to them, and that you are being honest about what your role is and how you can help them. So don't promise things that you can't deliver on. Be very mindful of your own time, balancing your work, your family with Rotary, these added responsibilities. But it's important to focus on how you can become an authentic leader, and it begins with self-awareness. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? There may be areas that you are a bit worried about as an incoming assistant governor that you'd actually like a little bit more help with. And that's what the district learning team is here for. We're here to support you and help you be the best AG that you can be. But it's really about being very genuine and authentic and listening, leaning in and engaging. Next slide, please. So authentic leadership, as I said, it begins with values. It begins with self-awareness. And then you have to adhere to those values. Rotary has laid out very clear values for us. It aligns with our strategic vision. DE&I, of course, are some of our core values. Equity, inclusion, all of the different work that we do with our projects, all speak to the values of who we are as Rotarians. And you as assistant governors are expected to exemplify those values even more than club presidents and other club leaders. Make sure you listen before you share your own thoughts. This is something that I struggled with, still struggle with. I tend to be very keen to share my own thoughts and my ideas, but it's important as a leader, an authentic leader, to stop and listen and to really ask for feedback, to gather ideas from the clubs around you. The people in those clubs know their clubs better than you do. Of course, you know your own club, but you may now be working with leaders in clubs that you're not that familiar with, or you've only really ever attended events and functions, but you don't know the heart and the culture of the club. So listen to the club members when they share with you solutions, concerns, ideas. And then, of course, all of this leads to building trust and building relationships. I know for many of us, we live in small countries. We know all the Rotarians in our country, or many of them already, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they trust you. Or I'm sure some of them may even feel that, you weren't perhaps the right choice for an AG. Why is he AG? We all know what goes on in our Rotary community, our Rotary family. So part of your job is going to be earning their trust, building that relationship, because not everybody's going to have that same connection with you. So it can start now by preparing yourself, reaching out to the presidents-elect and so on. But July 1 is really going to be, do they trust you enough? Because you've been authentic, you've been transparent, and you've stayed really focused on what their needs are. And that, again, goes back to understanding your own strengths and weaknesses. Next slide, please, Jean-Marc. I should learn how to say that in French. And then there is what they call a transformational leader. So we've established that you are going to work on being an authentic leader. And then there is what they call transformational leadership. And this is really about motivating people to perform at the highest possible level and also develop their own leadership potential. So if we apply this to Rotary clubs, the clubs that you're going to be in charge of, think about the leadership team, the new board of directors, the new president, etc., but also help them develop the leaders within their club. One of the big challenges many clubs have is succession planning. So I think that is a golden opportunity for AGs to really, truly understand where is the opportunity, the potential for future leaders within our club, and what can you do to help with training, support, etc. But if you're a transformational leader, somebody who is motivating, who has the ability really to stimulate and excite and engage leaders, then people want to partner with you. They want to follow you. They want to support you. And by extension, DG Soraya. So your job is to send her message down to the clubs. Their message, of course, is to support her and her achievement of the district goals. But you're the conduit for that conversation. You're the conduit for those relationships. So when Soraya comes to visit you in your home country as the district governor, she will expect, I am sure, to see an AG who's really built strong, exciting connections with the Rotarians in their charge, knows the club, knows what the potential is, knows what maybe the challenges are, but really is somebody that the clubs in your cluster or your country, you're the person that they turn to. You're the person that they go to because you are truly working with them to transform their club. So the idea of transformational leadership is exactly that. It is building better, stronger, brighter, more successful, high-performing Rotary clubs. And however the Rotary Club defines high performance, you help them achieve those goals. Next slide. S'il vous plaît. Hello?
The new slide is up, Lara.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, my bad. I think, okay, so sorry. Yes, this is the transformational leadership. My apologies. This is really about, as I said, encouraging the groups that you're responsible for, the Rotary clubs, to perform at their best. No, we just did this one. To perform at the highest level. There is another slide. Sorry, everybody. I don't have control of the slides. There should be another one. I'm not seeing it change. It has no picture on it.
It is changed. Say number 1 key, the transformation leadership stimulation.
Okay, I'm not seeing it then on my screen. There we go. Right, that's it. Yes, okay, merci. So, a quick check on whether you are or are not a transformational leader. And this, of course, would apply in your business careers as well as your Rotary career. But ask yourself, and all of you will have been presidents, so you've had the opportunity to be in a leadership role. Many of you will have been AGs before. You may have even had a district leadership. No, we have to go back one. I don't know if I'm a different slide to everybody else. There's a checklist.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it on my screen, but okay. I
Yes,
think maybe
the
I
checklist is showing, Lara.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I've got the one after that up on my screen. So I'm going to have to minimize this. I'm going to pull up my slides so I can at least follow along on mine. Sorry. Okay. All right, checklist. So you ask yourself whether you have always found it easy to inspire others. When people reflect on your term in office as a club president, how would they describe you as a club leader? Were you inspirational? Not everybody is. Many of us are just, we can do the hard work, we can do the grind, but to be an inspirational leader, somebody that people are willing to follow, excited to follow, is a different level of leadership. Does your club consider you attentive to their concerns? Do you agree that you would never ask a member of your club to do something that you wouldn't do? You know, we have, as Rotarians, always had the opportunity to provide service to our communities from the ground up. And any Rotarian in any club who says, no, I don't do that, I can't do that, that's not necessarily what we want in our Rotary clubs, that attitude. So we're very much about that as leaders, but that is also something that people get inspired by if they know that you're willing to get in the trenches and do the work with them. The next question you ask yourself is whether success lies in innovation and creativity. This is one of the key words that RI President-elect Mario has talked about, as I started with. Innovation. How innovative are our Rotary clubs? How creative are they? Are we doing the same thing over and over again every year and expecting different results? We know that that is the definition of madness. Does your club know what you stand for? Are your values clear to everybody? Do they understand what drives you, what motivates you? Do you encourage your club to question conclusions? So we don't, you know, I remember when in my early Rotary life back in the 90s, early 2000s, being told on more than one occasion by Rotarians that we don't do it that way. We have never done it that way. Well, clearly, that is completely the wrong approach to being a Rotarian in 2025 as it was in, 25 years ago, because Rotary has to evolve. Clubs have to keep looking for ways to get better and stronger. It doesn't mean abandoning everything that we've ever done, but it does often mean finding new ways to achieve even more meaningful results, sustainable results. And the idea of being a transformational leader also speaks to training others, bringing others with you on your leadership journey. So at the end of your year as assistant governor, look back and say, how many new leaders did I identify, support, and train and prepare for leadership roles in our Rotary family? So the next slide, which I have, is the one with the 4 keys. And I'm not going to go through these because I think I've exhausted this topic. But the idea is that there are 4 ways that you can become and demonstrate transformational leadership. So the next slide is being a role model. Can we put that one up? So it's 2 slides ahead for me.
It is up, Lara.
Lovely. Thanks, Tanya. I'm so sorry, folks. So 5 ways that you can become a role model as an assistant governor. One of the key things we look for in our Rotarians, as I think we do in any leaders, is resilience. Is that ability, and many of us demonstrated this during COVID. Our clubs, many clubs demonstrated this. But there were also Rotary clubs and Rotary leaders who literally did nothing for the 2 years of COVID. So are you able to show people that you have this resilience to overcome adversity? And those can be small things like challenges to get members engaged, challenges to have Rotarians show up for events, challenges with fundraising, or they can be larger, more meaningful club culture and design and future conversations. But that resilience, that willingness, that ability to bounce back is inspiring to people. You look for people who get back up and keep going. Don't let their failures stop them. That is inspiring. That is what a role model is. And I think the prime example of a role model who was able to overcome adversity is, of course, Nelson Mandela. We think about role models in the world and great leaders and people in history who we admire. I mean, being in prison for a quarter of a century and still coming out and being a man of peace and a man that was full of hope and positivity rather than seeking revenge and, ready to seek justice for himself. He sought justice for others. And that, I think, also speaks to the second aspect of being a role model is if we take the conversation about Nelson Mandela a little bit further, he came out of prison with a fundamental desire to not just help others, but to help his entire country, to change and transform his country. And so that kind of leadership, whether he was right or wrong and he did everything perfectly, very few people do, but that idea that he really was seen to care for and really focus on helping others, that is inspiring. So you inspire people through these actions. And of course, being authentic, which we touched on the very beginning, is absolutely essential for being a role model. Next slide, please. Being an assistant governor means demonstrating 3 key aspects in terms of how the clubs look at you, how other Rotarians look at you. The first is being accountable. And I really do feel terrible saying this, but I know it's certain, well, I can only really speak for Trinidad and Tobago, but this is not something that we do terribly well in Trinidad and Tobago. We are very quick to blame others. We are very quick to, tell people it wasn't me. But as an authentic leader, as a transformational leader, as an assistant governor, you have to show integrity by being accountable, even when you make mistakes. And you will make mistakes. That is part of being human. But the idea, as I've said, is to show that resilience, that you can learn from your mistakes, get back up and move forward. The second thing as an assistant governor, if you remember nothing else from today's presentation, remember these 3 things. And of course, the 3 pillars from President-elect Mario. But be somebody who keeps their word. We have been let down so many times in our lives by people who say, yes, I will do that for you. Yes, I'll be there at 9 o'clock. Yes, I will work on that for you. And then they don't. And even within Rotary, that happens. And I personally struggle with that because I feel like as a Rotarian, we take an oath of office. We swear to support each other when we are inducted into Rotary. We have a four-way test. We have a code of conduct. And yet still so many Rotarians don't keep their word. And so as an assistant governor, you must be that shining example of somebody who is reliable and consistent. It's going to be a lot of work. You're going to have to do a lot of work. But you accepted this opportunity to lead in your country, in your clubs. And so you now have to step up and be reliable and responsible. And then finally, something which we've already covered a little bit under authentic leadership is being empathetic. This is something that many of us really had to learn during COVID. Many of us who run businesses, who manage teams, who manage Rotary clubs, you know, and I don't think we all did a great job. I know I didn't. I know that I have a long way to go. Tanya will know that empathy is not my natural state, but I am learning, I am trying to get better. But it's really important to listen to other people and hear their views before you make decisions. And this, of course, is a way that you will also train the presidents under your purview. Next slide, please. Communication. So communication with your members is absolutely essential for building relationships, but it also is part of that retention of members. So remember, we talked at the very beginning about people loving being a Rotarian, loving being in a Rotary club. That is only possible if they feel heard, given the opportunity to speak, effectively informed, kept up to date with what's happening. And I feel like we're relying a lot on WhatsApp and on emails, and they're very powerful tools and I love them too. But we do also need to find new and exciting ways to communicate with our members. Young people are great with the WhatsApp and the Insta and all of these things, but older members may require a different form of communication. So your job as an assistant governor is to find strategies to communicate with the different people that you're working with in ways that meet their needs and not necessarily your own. When I was district governor in 2011, 2012, feels like 100 years ago now, I remember having an assistant governor, and I shall not name names, of course, but who was absolutely appalling on email. I don't think to this day I've had an email from this person. Never responded to emails, never sent emails. And of course, we do a lot of managing the district via email. And I really couldn't explain it because they were an entrepreneur, they're a successful business person. So I know that they knew how to use email. But it really was for this particular individual, their Rotary communication they felt they wanted was very much one-on-one. They wanted phone calls. We were using Skype back then, so we would have Skype chats. So I had to adjust my style to really connect with this assistant governor to then enable them to do their job more effectively. So we all have to learn how to communicate most effectively with different members to boost their engagement, make sure that they are satisfied with their Rotary experience and understand how we are working towards the vision of Rotary and our mission statements. Next slide, please. The next slide should be tools for managing conflict. Oh, no, sorry. Communication, slide 2. Understanding expectations. So communicating regularly is important with Rotarians. You will be somebody that they will come to, trust me, for lots of different Rotary experiences, asking for advice. So you need to be able to clearly state what are the roles and responsibilities of the various board members. Maybe help them design, if they don't already have them, strategic plan, board manuals. Remember, we've got the action plans, membership communication and foundation. All clubs are supposed to be using these action plans to guide their work. So as the assistant governor, this is part of your job as well, is to communicate effectively using the tools that Rotary and the district have given you to make sure that they understand what are their responsibilities in the new year. What are they expected to achieve? How are we measuring what we're achieving? And this, of course, extends to the Rotary Learning Centre, the Rotary Brand Centre, all of these other resources that are available. And sometimes it gets confusing. There's a lot coming at us in Rotary. So part of your responsibility is also to maybe sit with the club leadership team and go through and sift out and identify what's going to be the most important work for them, priorities as a club, where are some of their weaknesses, and what can we focus on. So remember, Rotary has action plans that you can implement in the clubs that you're responsible for to really guide their work, their projects, etc. Feedback is critical. It's a key part of effective communication, and also coaching. I think it's important as assistant governors to really get involved in coaching to make sure that the leaders of these clubs are the most effective that they can be in terms of, my apologies, their own communication with members, their own project planning, all of these different things. And again, my amazing experience as a district governor, all of us, pretty much every Rotarian in the district knows how to do strategic planning. We do strategic planning in our businesses on a regular basis. And yet, very few Rotary clubs have effective strategic plans. So help them improve their performance by using your professional skills as well as your Rotary tools. Some of you may be accountants, some of you may be lawyers, you may be business owners. Bring those skills to bear in how you can communicate with your clubs to help. Your goal is to make sure that the clubs in your cluster are the top performing clubs in the district. And everybody has that same goal, whether it's PI, membership, foundation, whatever the targets being set by the district governor are, you need to help them shine. We'll talk a bit about resolving conflict in a moment. Of course, collaborating amongst clubs. Again, partnerships is a key message from the incoming Rotary International president. And again, my own experience in Trinidad and Tobago, one of the things that we have not always done well is in a country with 22 clubs, or 23 now, we don't often collaborate. We may have 5 Rotary events on the same day. We may be going after the same sponsors for donations and things. And it really does, I think, sometimes confuse the public. They bundle us all together as Rotary. My club is often mislabeled as another Rotary club in Port of Spain. And so we really do need to collaborate amongst our clubs, amongst our members, sharing expertise, sharing ideas, sharing our calendars so that we can each do our very best. But remember, we also have common goals. We have a common vision.
Good. I need to talk fast.
Sorry, is that for me? Talk fast? I'm going as fast as I can. And then, of course, one of the things I would encourage you to do as Rotary assistant governors is to celebrate the wins. So every time one of the clubs in your cluster pins a new Paul Harris Fellow, has a successful project, completes some training, whatever it is, find ways to celebrate with them. Have a small awards ceremony, have the presidents for dinner at your home, whatever it is that brings you closer to them and helps them understand that you really are there for them, and to celebrate them and to share in both their failures, and to recognize their successes. And the next and final conversation is around tools for managing conflict. So the next slide, please. And this all begins with communication. Back again with communication. It is at the heart of every single effective relationship, whether it's in your work, whether it's in your family, whether it's in your Rotary club. We have to facilitate, as AGs, open and honest dialogues that don't focus on the people, but focus on the problem. It's really important, if there's a conflict in a club or between two clubs, that you step in quickly. And you may not have expertise in this area, but there may be another AG who can, or another Rotarian, or even somebody outside the Rotary family. I think that's a very important thing to consider if clubs are having conflict, to bring somebody from the outside to mediate conflict resolution may be a phenomenal way of getting past this challenge that the club is having. But the idea as AG is to facilitate brainstorming, sharing ideas, sharing perspectives. You know, there is a saying that when when people are talking about an issue, there's your truth, my truth, and then the actual truth. So a big part of managing conflict is really trying to get to the heart of where the conflict lies and reaching resolutions that satisfy both parties. You will never get win-win. It is very rare. And we know those of us that have studied negotiations is that is not always necessarily what you're aiming for. But at least that nobody is losing on both sides. So some sort of compromise, finding a middle ground, really listening to both clubs or both Rotarians and understanding that neither party is going to win, but we're going to find a solution that we are both comfortable with. The next slide, please. It should say step by step. And there are 7 steps. Again, this is a very high level overview of conflict resolution. You first of all investigate the situation, and this may be asking for witnesses, requesting documents. Maybe something was recorded and you have to watch some video. You know, we know nowadays everybody's recording things on their phones. And that's one of the things I think as Rotarians, Rotary clubs, we have to be very mindful of, is that if there is a conflict or a dispute, it has to be private. It cannot be in public spaces, in front of the media, in front of our stakeholders, children that we're working with, members of the public, sponsors. So hopefully whatever the conflict is a private matter. And then, as I said, you find some common ground. Where can we agree that we can work together? Brainstorm how that's going to happen. Agree on what the solution is going to be, and then make sure and establish responsibilities. And most importantly, write things down, document things. As you all know, I'm an HR professional, and we know in HR that every single thing has to be written down. So, and agreed to. So there's nobody who says, I don't remember saying that. I never agreed to do that. I'm a big fan of timelines. So we've agreed that Lara is going to do these 5 things by the 1st of April. Lyle is going to do these 5 things by the 5th of April. We will then meet again and see. So you actually put some structure around the solution and follow up. And the idea is that we are going to collaborate to find solutions because, remember, we are uniting for good. We are all working towards a common mission and vision. And yes, there'll be conflicts. There are human beings in the room. But that doesn't mean that we can't fix the problem and move forward, sharing as Rotarians our learned experiences and improving as Rotary clubs. Final slide, please. Final thoughts. Being an assistant governor is a very important responsibility. I know you have taken this on after giving it some thought. Some of you, as I said, this may be your 2nd year, but I want to say on behalf of the district, thank you to all of you for agreeing to serve as assistant governors. It is not necessarily an easy job, but it is a very enjoyable one. It's a great way to get to know Rotarians, to get to understand projects, to get to meet the young people in our Rotary family, to really push your Rotary boundaries outside of your own club. So remember, it's important for you to commit to being an authentic leader, somebody who understands what their own weaknesses are, is listening and being empathetic, is communicating effectively, understanding that communication is the cornerstone to building relationships, to building trust, and celebrate the good times, the good wins with your Rotary clubs. So remember your role, all of us in the district leadership team now, we are charged to lead boldly, to connect deeply, to keep the magic of Rotary alive, and to unite for good. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Lara. We now have about 7 minutes, 5 minutes for questions. Please raise your hand if you have a question, or you can write it in the chat. We'd made a request for questions to be in the chat, but I don't think any have come in just yet.
Are they all still awake? I can't see.
Yeah.
Liz, you awake in Guyana?
Right. I'm alert and listening to all of what you had to say. I thought it was very interesting. I
Thank
wish we could have this, and I hope that the presidents listen to this as well, the president and the secretary and the club board particularly.
Yeah, we have a similar conversation with the presidents next week, I think, or the week after.
Yeah.
But I really think that, you know, leadership, you can't do leadership in 45 minutes, right? Leadership is
Right.
a very deep conversation. It's a behavioral shift. It's something that, you know, you can study for 10 years and still not get it right. But I think really it's to just make that commitment to being an authentic leader and understanding what you're responsible for. And the thing, I love what RIP Mario talked about, innovation, continuity, and partnerships, because you might think that innovation and continuity actually contradict each other in a sense, but they don't, because you can still do the same projects that you've always done, but in exciting new ways, in creative new ways, working with different partners, bringing your young people in, you know, all of those things. So it's not to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, but to constantly be thinking how we can do our work more effectively. And that's your charge as AGs as well.
Laura, are you hearing me?
You still wearing your costume? Carnival hairs flowing around. Thank you. Yes, Veronica. How's everything?
Everything's fine. What I wanted to find out in terms of meeting with clubs, should AG ask to meet with the board separate at times, or is it that you always meet with the general club? Because I think sometimes you may wish to chat with the board, and so you ask for a meeting of the board. And you know, just a chat, and you're not fixing anything, you are having a conversation, as opposed to only meet with the general meeting. But I also understand that we are not to, as much as we are AGs, we are not to interfere with the running of a club. So I'm sometimes I find a little confusing there as to, should I ask for an invitation, or should I just continue meeting with the general membership?
So my thoughts on that are, first of all, I think it's very important for the AG to introduce themselves to the club, who you are, your Rotary background, and what your responsibilities are as an AG, and what you expect of the Rotary Club. And that can be done, of course, between now and July 1 in preparation for, and some of it will be done, of course, at the conference in April. I think there is nothing wrong with an AG asking to meet with the board. Of course, it's something that you should ideally do early, because you'll be asking them to roll out their projects in line with district goals, district objectives. I think that you absolutely have the right, once there is a good relationship and you've built that trust and you've communicated effectively, to go and meet with, it might just be the executive of the club. It might just be, you know, the president, secretary, president-elect, and IPP, or, you know, it doesn't have to necessarily be the whole board. But I do think you absolutely can do that, and you explain why. So you're not just asking for a meeting for the sake of it. There must be a purpose, an agenda. And I would suggest, you know, doing that early before July 1, so that when the year begins, the clubs are very clear on what your expectations are as an AG, but also what they can ask of you. So you can also speak to them about, you know, what are some of the challenges that the club has been experiencing and is worried about going into the new Rotary year? What are some of the opportunities for improvement? Who would they like to collaborate with? So your job is also to make connections for them. So in meeting with them between sort of May and June to prepare for July 1, I think that would be you could even prepare a sort of a list of questions or an agenda that other AGs could use as well. But I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it could be very casual. It doesn't have to be a formal visit of the AG. It could be something more informal. But, and of course, then preparing for the governor's visit is a whole nother conversation, right? Which we're not getting into with me. But I think you should be in touch with them regularly. I think you should know when the, you know, president's birthday is. I think you should know when the club is having projects, what's their calendar, so you can plan to attend. I think there's lots of things that can be done early to help you build that relationship with the Rotary Board and the club by extension. Yeah, I'm seeing Albert's hand and then Lise.
Thank you very much. Quickly, I just wanted to give a sort of experience that I've had with the current and the last district governor. And the last district governor, you know, was very specific about not pushing ourselves as AGs onto the clubs, which I respected. However, from time to time, I have gotten as AG invitations from the president to attend board meetings. So you use that opportunity, you know, to have a general discussion. You don't push yourself too much, but when appropriate, you can make, you know, general comments, general guidance, and so on. What I try to do as AG is meet face to face with the presidents of the 3 clubs that are sort of housed in St. Lucia. And that one, you know, I try to make sort of mandatory. So you get a chance to meet at the highest level with the entire leadership of the club. So on the one hand, sometimes you get invited to a board meeting. You go, you can talk to the members of the executive. And on the other hand, you know, you have the leadership of the clubs.
Yeah. One of the things, thanks, Albert. One of the things I think, and I mentioned it, I think is a great opportunity for AGs is to spot leadership potential in a club. And that's very hard to do if you're only meeting the president. So I do think, and again, you've built a relationship, right? So you're in a fortunate position now, but where you're doing it another year. So you've already got some of the bonds with, and it's a small country, Rotarians know each other. But in the larger countries or the larger clubs, that may not be as easy. So I'm not 100% agreeing with the AG shouldn't push themselves. I think there is a way in which you can connect with the clubs, you know, maybe do a presentation about your own Rotary journey so they know who you are. Every Rotarian in every club in your cluster should know who the AG is. And I can tell you from my own experience as a member that 3/4 of my club doesn't know. And I'm not about Veronica because Veronica's everywhere and everything. So we're very happy with Veronica. She really does support her clubs and we see it. But I do think some AGs are sort of a bit distant and remote, and I don't think that's an effective mechanism at all to be a good AG. And the only time we see the AG is when the governor visits. I don't agree with that approach. I think we are small enough, close enough to build more meaningful relationships. It's not that you have to be at every single thing, but there are opportunities for you to work with the club, you know, do a strategic planning session for the club. As I said, download those action plans and go and meet with the whole club and say, hey, I want to do a session with you guys on, you could bring 3 clubs together. We're going to do a Saturday morning conversation around membership. And the AG leads that dialogue and that discussion. I think there's a lot of ways that the AGs can truly be impactful without sort of pushing themselves. But you know the culture of your country and your clubs. You will learn it. So what's right for you? But I do know in the past, I've had many members in my club say, who's the AG? I never see them. I never met them. I don't know them at all. It's only when the governor visits. And I don't think that's a good approach either. So I think somewhere in the middle is your sweet spot. I think Lise had her hand up. I'm just keeping an eye on the time. I don't know if we have
just 1 more minute for questions.
I
So
try
please,
to
Lise,
be
go ahead.
very fast, Lara, because I know we are almost out of time. Just want to share quickly that for me, it's easy only having 2 clubs. I just invite the presidents and the secretaries-elect to my place for lunch or dinner or something to drink. And before the year starts, to be sure that we are all on the one goal list for what we want in the Rotary year, and that we try to collaborate where we can with respect of each culture per club. And I know for some people it will be more difficult, but still sometimes could be helpful to find an environment where you can put those people together, that also they know each other face to face, to be sure that we know what we're doing in your AG year with the people, the clubs you have to lead and to help and to guide. I stop now because there's too many things we can all say.
I think it really helps, Lise, that you have, you know, your own bar and poolside bar. I'm sure that that makes it a lot more attractive for Rotarians. Thank you for that comment. I appreciate it.
Lara, to you, we say thank you so much for joining us and for your continuous commitment to the growth of Rotary throughout our district. And just to pull a quote from the group chat from AG, Cheryl and Jordan, PDG Lara, you made magic with that presentation. Bravo. I'm doing a little bit of paraphrasing there, but thank you, Lara. And we do look forward to you leading a similar session for our incoming presidents in a couple of weeks. And again, thank you for both your technical, lots of thank yous coming in here for you. We're thanking you for both your technical patience with us with the slideshow, but also for the wealth of knowledge that you continue to share with all Rotarians.
My pleasure. I look forward to seeing all of you at the district conference next month. Bye, folks.
Bye, Lara. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye.
And we're now going to focus on the specific roles and responsibility of assistant governors. Our AGs are the liaison between our district governor and the amazing Rotary clubs that make up our district. The beauty and essence of Rotary and the extraordinary opportunity that it brings through numerous channels to serve, to transform, and to make a difference in our world. This is the driving force of our district governor-elect. And I encourage you to now listen as she provides guidance on your upcoming year as governors, so that you too can help transform, to serve, and make a difference in our district's Rotary district. Let's welcome DGE Soraya Warna Gustav.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you so much for the opportunity here this evening. Thank you so much for your presence as well. I'm really appreciative of the past district governors on the call. And of course, very grateful for the assistant governors, new and returning, who are here this evening with us. Just bear with me. I'm just going to get my slides ready. Thank you so much. I take it that everyone can see my slides happily.
Yes, it's showing up clearly. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, District Learning Facilitator Tanya. And I know that PDG Lara has already left the room, but I do want to add my thanks to her for such an engaging presentation. Effective leadership is at the core of Rotary's success. And if we focus on developing key leadership skills such as communication and conflict resolution, if we lead by example, if we learn to inspire and motivate our club leaders, foster teamwork, then ultimately we are enhancing the effectiveness of all of our clubs. As an assistant governor, you are such an important resource for your assigned clubs. Because as you know, Rotary is experienced through the clubs. And so our job is to ensure a platinum standard of support for our clubs. I have said it before, that effectively we have one job. It may not be the easiest of jobs, but it is one job, and it is an all-encompassing job. To do it well, we must be able to lead with impact and influence so that we get to continue to drive that strong Rotary presence in our district, ensure continuity of leadership that is strong and solid, so that we can continue to grow the wonderful legacy that has already been laid out for us. The agenda for this session is as shown. And in this session, we will provide an overview of our priorities, your roles and responsibilities, and speak to the resources that are available to you. It's an overview because our PELS training, which you should be attending, will provide additional content and context for you. So we start off here with the Rotary International Presidential Messaging and Priorities. And at the recently held International Assembly, incoming President Mario emphasized the importance of seeking out new perspectives and strengthening Rotary service to communities around the globe, embracing the need for growth and connection or partnerships. And PDG Lara would have referenced this in her earlier presentation. Mario sees innovation, continuity, that is continuity of leadership, and partnerships as the three pillars necessary to get us to the growth that we desire. And some of you may know that Rotary is hoping to get to 1.250 million members in time for our 125th anniversary. As it stands currently, we are at 1.160 million members. So you can appreciate then that the number one internal priority for us continues to be membership growth, with the external priority remaining as polio eradication. But key to this discussion on membership is the inclusion of assistant governors in the mix, right? And AGs are now expected to be directly involved in driving the growth of membership. You would have heard both Director Patrick and I speak to Rotary's action plan and its strategic priorities. This slide presents a high-level view of Rotary and our priorities, and will be further dissected for club review and participation through the district citation. But I wanted to give you a view of the priorities and what the corresponding activities look like for us. We would essentially like to get our members comfortable with utilizing the priorities and allowing these to drive all of their club activities. And so it is important that you as AGs become keenly familiar with what our strategic priorities are. And as listed here, we have enhanced participant engagement, expand our reach, increase our impact, and increase our ability to adapt. So the questions really become, how can we increase our impact in our communities? What can we do to expand our reach? What new activities can we introduce to enhance our participant engagement? And of course, what do we do to adapt to our changing environment? And we have some of the activities listed here. So for participant engagement, support clubs to better engage their members. Have a participant-centered approach to delivering value to members, or offer new opportunities for personal and professional connection and development. Under expand our reach, we have grow and diversify our membership and participation, create new pathways into Rotary, and build awareness of our brand and impact. Increase our impact, eradicate polio and leverage our legacy, improve our ability to improve and measure impact, focus our programs and offerings. And of course, under increasing our ability to adapt, we are looking at building a culture of innovation and willingness to step outside of the box, streamline governance, structure, and processes, and review our planning objectives so that we can encourage diverse perspectives. We will have a Rotary Action Plan session on the 11th of March, and you should plan to attend, as we will be delving into these priorities with the help and the assistance of a Rotary Action Plan champion. But note also that Rotary Club Central has already been reformatted to accommodate these priorities. So it's really about you becoming familiar, getting accustomed, getting comfortable with speaking about Rotary strategic priorities such that they could be embraced and fully embedded within the clubs. So we move on now to roles and responsibilities, helping clubs thrive. And I hope you can see the words, because I know that the font is relatively small. But this essentially outlines the expectations and responsibilities in respect to the support of your clubs. What can you do to support your clubs? It starts with you being available and approachable. The presentation highlights a list of activities that are expected. Of course, starting with the requirement to visit each club regularly, at least quarterly, in person or virtually, so that you can get to understand the clubs, discuss their club activities, their resources, discuss the opportunities that are available to them. Depending on your location, your jurisdiction, this may not look the same for everyone, but you are expected to touch base with your assigned clubs, get to know the leadership, build relationships with the teams. And just to add to the discussion that AG Veronica initiated earlier, it is really very important that you reach out to the board. I think you need to have a conversation with the board members. Doesn't have to be the whole board, but at least, as PDG Lara suggested, the executive. I think it's really important that you connect with that team so that you can ensure that the club is on the right path and actually is on course to follow and achieve the directives of the district and directives of Rotary by extension. So as we've listed here, again, I'm saying get to know the leadership, but give special attention to weak clubs. Tailor your support to clubs based on their individual needs. Support clubs in setting and achieving their goals, finding solutions to their challenges, resolving conflicts, we just spoke about that, and meeting membership and financial requirements. You are to serve as a liaison between clubs and district committees. And I want to add here that the district programs are established to provide that sort of addition. Well, it supports membership engagement, right? And it enables clubs to get involved in a number of programs, supports their ability to do so. And it's really important that as AGs, you attempt or you ensure that you find that connection or you make that connection between the district committee chairs and clubs so that we can have clubs embracing the focus on environmental sustainability, for example, and peace, for example. It's just that important that our clubs understand that the district committees are here to serve the clubs. And with AGs serving as liaisons, that can help with bridging that gap. You are to assess each club's ability to thrive and mentor club leaders on strategies to help their clubs succeed. Encourage clubs to get involved in district activities and committees. Encourage your clubs to attend district conferences. Help to organize, promote, and support new clubs, and especially encourage the use of innovative club types. The expectation here is that you keep the governor informed about the progress of your clubs and the progress that they make toward their goals, that they stay up to date on Rotary initiatives, that you stay up to date on Rotary initiatives so that you can share that then with your clubs. And you also share the status of clubs with your successor. I want to say that this list of activities, the majority of them listed here, was actually taken from the Assistant Governor's course on the Learning Center. And you will note that there is now, as I'd indicated before, a membership growth requirement for AGs. AGs are now expected to support the membership growth efforts of their clubs. Roles and responsibilities supporting the governor. I would like to highlight here some of the activities as it relates to the support that you provide the governor. Starting off with the planning of all club visits. And prior to the start of the year, you can expect to receive additional documentation from me that will outline the requirements for these. But running through the list, I want to touch on the rating of clubs, which is important. And the rate clubs is a feature in Rotary Club Central that allows you to report clubs' practices, accomplishments, and weaknesses. So you and I will use this tool to leave comments about a club after each of my visits, or after each of your visits. You can comment on and view ratings for your assigned clubs, but only the DG and governor-elect can do so for all the clubs in the districts. And these ratings and comments will serve as a reference for you and the district governor. Clubs will not be able to view them, by the way. Only assistant governors, district governor-elect has access to the Rating Clubs online program. There's a rating guide as well on Rotary Club Central that will help you with your assessments. I also want to touch on succession planning. This is very, very critical for us in terms of ensuring that we identify future leaders capable of serving beyond the club, right? It's important for you as well as you prepare to transition from the role of AG after the 3 years. Remember that AG roles are renewable annually based on the incoming governor's review, and so is subject to change on an annual basis. But we would like to see a proactive approach to seeking out club leaders, developing club leaders beyond the club level who could take up the district leadership roles. This actually promotes membership engagement and should ideally be included in your own action plans. So we are here now at resource utilization, and there is a wealth of information available to you on the Rotary website. And so I ask that you start there, please. I've had a look at the Learning Center report, which shows the assistant governor course, and more importantly, who has taken the assistant governor course. That course is intended to prepare you for your role. And I have to say that there are not a lot of you who have completed the assistant governor basics course on the Learning Center. So can I please request that you make every effort to complete this? If we are to encourage our incoming club leaders to complete their online training, we really should endeavor to do this and lead by example. But before the new Rotary year opens, and as the year rolls on, you can expect to get from me resource reminders throughout the year. We will document the visit protocols and share these with you. You can expect quarterly check-ins, one-on-ones. In fact, we will share with you any bit of information that we think will make your job easier. And I'm open to any suggestions that you may have for improvements, enhancements in terms of your role and in terms of clubs. I want to end my presentation in the words of President-elect Mario. Let us renew our collective strength. Let us embrace the journey of service and growth, and let us ensure our mission endures. I really want to thank you for your support and for agreeing to partner with me on this journey, and I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DGE Soraya. We are going to be expanding this presentation a little bit. We are going to be listening and hearing from some of our current assistant governors who are also part of the learning team. Soraya, did you want to do question and answers for you, or we save that for the end?
We can save that for the end. Yes,
Okay,
allow the
great.
to.
All right, wonderful.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Could you remove your shared screen? Brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, DG. So we will now hear some do's and don'ts, as well as some protocol recommendations from 4 of our current AGs who are also members of the district learning team for next year. Our very first presenter, we welcome Assistant Governor Elizabeth Cox from Guyana. Liz?
Good evening, all, and thank you again for being part of this session. The DGE Soraya knows how passionate I am about training and professionalism and all of that. But my role this evening, and some of it has already been said when chipping away on what I had to say, but I'll mention some of it again. But I think what was important for me to mention tonight is how do we balance our time between our club and other clubs? As an AG about to exit the role, having served almost 3 years now, I think that I do have some good information to share with you. First of all, I believe that being an AG is, for me, has been very exciting. It has shown me and it has made me grow too in different ways that I never knew I had. And I think it is going to be an exciting opportunity for every new AG coming in. What I would suggest to AGs is to get to know the clubs before. Use your sitting AG to accompany you to clubs so that you get to know clubs and their culture before the 1st of July. That in that way, you get an opportunity to understand the uniqueness, and every club is unique and special in their own way, but you get to know them long before your year start as a assistant governor. So I think that's very important. It's very important for you to also sit with your current AG to get an understanding beforehand of the clubs that will come under your stewardship. And again, as was said before, you really are providing an oversight guidance, not dictating to clubs. What I found useful was that I made a quarterly schedule to visit clubs, to either visit events or to visit their meetings or to be part of their board meetings. Initially, I met with the executives of each club to get an understanding, and then I had a joint meeting with all the presidents and secretaries, and that was very useful because I think we all feel that we have challenges, but I think that there's commonality in that as well. So I think that's an important thing. That quarterly visit, either to an event or to a club meeting, I think is very important because it shows that you're interested. You get to learn a little bit more about the members, and some of you probably will get to know newer members or members that you've never met before that have been in Rotary a while. So those visits are very important. Now, time is of essence, and I think that as an AG, you should not take up a leadership role in your club because you will stretch yourself. I think it's not advisable to be on the board and serve as an assistant governor because you will find yourself being stretched with time as well. So think of that. And if you are in fact on the board, perhaps you should give up that position on the board because I don't think that, well, for me, I don't think that it was, I tried it in the first year and it was a lot. It was too much to be able to trying to look at the clubs that you have that comes under you as well as your own club if you have a specific role. And then you have clashing of events as well. Yep, I asked clubs as well to share schedules so that it avoids the clash because there are times when your club think they own you and you have to attend everything, you know, that's happening in your club, and other clubs that come under you that you have to really attend to events as well. My rule was whoever invites me first, that's a club that I will go to and be part of their activities. But I think it supports them. You find before the 1st of July, you understand some of the uniqueness of that particular club, and you know that that club needs help in a particular area, and you can offer that guidance and support. But most of all, I must conclude by saying manage your time and also manage your expectations, because sometimes you could be disappointed, but at the same time, you realize that people all have different perspectives. But many things was mentioned about leadership, so I wouldn't repeat that. But thank you again for being part of this session. I know time is of essence as well.
A very good bridge. Thank you, Liz. And we move from Guyana to Dominica as we welcome AG Lies van de Kamp. Please.
Thank you, Tanya. Good evening, everybody. I will try to make it also short. I have a lot of items on my paper, but I will not mention them all. Liz, I am very happy with what you said. It's all true. And with the task list that we got from our DGE, we have a lot of work. So please, indeed, try not to have a board function in your own club. It will be in conflict with your AG work. For me, I want to talk a little bit about the visits, the official visit to your country of your DG. One thing I want to phrase out, a good visit will motivate your DG and all the members Rotarians, Rotary Act, Interact, Early Act in your country, all the members. So in a way, that will be the win-win situation. It is a very important item, what I saw in the years of the Rotary year, for your members to be recognized by your DG in life. There are a little bit some don'ts, what I would highlight. Do not try to organize that visit all by yourself. It has to be a collaboration with at least from every club, Rotarian club, a member, what you put on a committee, have a WhatsApp or email group or whatever communication will suit the people the best, to try to organize the visit together, so that you're all on the same way, on the same goal, and you all agree with what is set and what the planning is and the schedule is. So you don't get arguments later on, but she only is 1 hour with us and we can't get this. And we all need to be very specific with the time she has, limited in the days the DG visits. So therefore also try to be on time with the district and your clubs. When is the best time scheduled for the visit from the DG to your country? So you can start having that committee and start planning and roll it out. Do not assume what the DG wants or likes, even what she wants to eat. Ask. Again, don't start too late with the visit of the planning of your DG. There is a lot of checklists to make, but I don't want to use all the time tonight. I will really willing to share more of those ideas when we have our EG WhatsApp group in the coming year to help you to go and guide you to make it happening also in your country. If you want to know more, just inbox me. I don't want to spend more time. As I said, if there's questions at the end, I'm willing to answer them. I will leave it till here and go back to Tanya.
Thank you very much, AG Leeds. And we move now to Trinidad, to our AG Dina Rajpalbini. Dina, are you able to come off of mute?
Yeah,
Perhaps
tonight's
great.
good evening, everyone. Tonight I chose to talk about the do's and don'ts. I'm looking at how you can recognize your club's achievements and how you should avoid micromanaging your club. So I'll deal with the do's first. It boosts morale because it makes members feel valued and motivates them. When you recognize your club achievements, it enhances team cohesion, so it fosters unity and collaboration among the members. It builds positive culture so that it creates an environment where members feel proud and engaged. It encourages improvement so that it sets benchmarks and inspires continuous efforts. It reinforces goals. It serves as a reminder for members of their mission and objectives. It promotes community awareness. It raises the club's profile and attracts support. And it also creates a legacy because everything you document the successes, and of course you inspire your future members. So by documenting and celebrating achievements, your clubs create a legacy of success that can inspire future members. It shows also that the club has a history of making a positive impact, which can be a powerful recruitment and retention tool. So in our role as assistant governors, we have a unique opportunity to foster this culture of recognition. So by celebrating the hard work and dedication of your club members, we can help create a vibrant motivated, and successful organization. Now, there are some compelling reasons why assistant governors should avoid micromanaging a club. One, it undermines leadership. So it disempowers club leaders and board members. It stifles creativity. It limits new ideas and initiatives. It reduces morale because it leads to frustration and low morale among members. It is inefficient. It diverts valuable time from broader responsibilities. It hinders development because it deprives members of growth opportunities. It erodes trust. It indicates a lack of trust in members' abilities when you micromanage a club. It decreases accountability because it reduces responsibility among the club leaders. And of course, it discourages volunteerism. It diminishes member participation and engagement. And last but not least, it prevents problem solving because it hinders independent problem solving and critical thinking. So micromanagement can hinder problem solving and critical thinking. Club leaders need the space to identify challenges and develop solutions on their own, fostering a problem-solving culture. In our role as an assistant governor, it's crucial to strike a balance between providing guidance and giving clubs the autonomy to operate and grow. Fostering an environment of trust, support, and independence can lead to a stronger, more resilient club. We can suggest areas for improvement, but should never come across as being dissatisfied with the club's initiatives. So thank you. This is as much as I can share tonight.
Thank you, AG Dina from Trinidad South. And finally, we're going to hear from one of our French AGs, Jean-Marc Smith from Martinique. Please, Jean-Marc.
Yes, good evening to all. As diversity is one of Rotary's core value at the suggestion of DG Soraya, I'm going to speak in French for 2 little minutes because unfortunately, our French friends didn't have any translation this evening. Donc pour nos amis français, tout d'abord, je tiens à vous présenter les excuses de l'équipe de formation du district. Comme vous l'avez vu, tous les supports sont en 2 langues. Et nous avions prévu une traduction simultanée en français. Je sais que DJ Soraya y tenait beaucoup, mais malheureusement, le traducteur ne s'est pas connecté ce soir. Et donc, vous avez dû avoir toute la session en anglais. Nous allons réfléchir à comment vous transmettre en français les principaux messages de cette soirée, ainsi que la présentation de la prochaine année rotarienne qui a déjà eu lieu avec Patrick. Je voudrais vous parler, comme je devais parler d'un thème sur d'AG, entre autres, je voudrais vous parler de la situation que nous rencontrons parfois lorsque nous sommes appelés par un membre d'un Rotary Club pour un conflit interne au club. Et c'est l'occasion de vous faire part de mon expérience et de clarifier le rôle de l'AG par rapport au club Rotary. Même s'il peut stimuler les actions interclubs, l'adjoint du gouverneur n'est pas un super président de tous les clubs. Il n'a aucune autorité sur le fonctionnement interne des clubs. Il est le représentant du gouverneur et donc du Rotary international dans la région couverte vis-à-vis des clubs et des tiers. Les clubs Rotary étant des associations indépendantes qui ont librement accepté de suivre les règles édictées par le Rotary international. Et à ce titre, il n'a normalement pas à s'immiscer dans les affaires internes d'un club, notamment celles relatives aux membres et aux relations entre les membres d'un club, pour autant que celui-ci respecte les règles globales du Rotary. Faites à ce propos très attention aux propos que vous pourriez tenir en off ou devant d'autres Rotariens sur les clubs de votre région. La parole de l'AG est très écoutée, vite répétée, parfois déformée. Donc faites attention au message que vous délivrez. Et de plus, en tant que représentant du gouverneur, votre premier interlocuteur dans un club est son président qui a toute la légitimité de son club et qui est reconnu en tant que tel par le Rotary. Donc l'AG doit donc respecter aussi la hiérarchie traditionnelle de chaque club. C'est pourquoi il me semble important en tant qu'assistant du gouverneur de respecter les règles suivantes. Si le cas se présente de remonter de sujets de différents à l'intérieur d'un club, simplement prendre contact avec le président du club pour l'informer clairement, calmement et sereinement des problèmes internes qui vous sont remontés, qu'il doit régler au sein de son club. Ne réagissez pas toujours sur le champ, n'alarmez pas outre mesure en jouant au pompier pyromane, mais préparez votre appel afin d'aussi éventuellement proposer des solutions possibles. Soyez immédiatement, comme l'avait présenté tout à l'heure PDG Lara, constructif, de bons conseils. Votre expérience d'adjoint du gouverneur peut vous aider à trouver des idées et des solutions en vous appuyant tout simplement sur ce que vous avez vu dans d'autres clubs, par exemple. Éventuellement jouer le rôle de conciliateur, mais uniquement à la demande expresse du président du club, à qui, si vous le jugez utile, vous pouvez proposer votre aide. En quête de solution ou de meilleure attitude, n'hésitez pas à discuter des problèmes avec vos collègues adjoints du gouverneur, anciens gouverneurs ou gouverneurs élus, voire avec la gouverneure elle-même. Sachez que vous n'êtes pas seul et certainement pas le premier à rencontrer le cas qui vous préoccupe. Gardez en tout cas la gouverneure informée des problèmes persistants. Recherchez des informations sur MyRotary, sur les règlements du Rotary et sur le manuel de procédure afin d'être un élément qui rappelle le droit pour les parties concernées, favoriser une issue paisible et sereine aux difficultés rencontrées, soyez un vecteur d'enthousiasme et de dynamisme et non pas un frein au développement. Enfin, veillez à l'image du Rotary dans vos territoires et au respect des règles rotariennes et toujours, rappelez-vous et rappelez aux membres concernés le critère des 4 questions qui est souvent une bonne solution pour régler bien des conflits. Voilà pour mon intervention. So it's okay for me.
Thank you, Jean-Marc. We thank all of the AGs for their contributions tonight and also to our DGE. Thank you for putting guidelines up front regarding the roles and responsibilities. We now have a few moments before we close for questions and answers. So we will ask the entire district facilitation team to get involved to help with the responses. So please raise your hand so that we can start addressing the questions.
Tanya, not a question, but I know that Veronica raised a point, and a point that has been raised with me on several occasions where do I invite myself to a club meeting? Do I invite myself to a board meeting? I think that once you build that trust, as was mentioned by PG Lara, it becomes automatic. They want you to be there. They want you to be part of the whole activity because I think your presence also shows support for the club. So I think once you establish that trust, it does not become an issue when it comes to visiting clubs. You know how many times I have to split my time between clubs, perhaps going to 2 events one time, but in one day. But I think it comes with trust. And I think once that is established and do that before, and Veronica, you're a sitting AG, I think you can, try to meet with those clubs. And I think that once that trust is established, it becomes very easy to, they want you to be there all the time. Everybody wants me to be at some event or activity. You have to try and split yourself, but establish that trust with them.
Thank you, Liz. Albert, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to support Liz in that comment. I mean, first of all, you are still a member of your own club and you have attendance requirements and responsibilities there. So you continue to attend there. But typically, we say that one of the most enjoyable experience in Rotary is visiting. And when you have several clubs in your country, I mean, also you should be in the habit of visiting the other clubs in your location. And Liz is absolutely right. That is so important in terms of building trust and becoming familiar with the culture of the other clubs, because that's very important. You don't take the same approaches in each club because you have that difference in culture. I mean, we in St. Lucia had a situation where some of us in one club, would be more formal in the way we dress and others would be more casual. And just by visiting, you could be sensitized to that and be able to act appropriately in the different clubs. So visiting is very important. And that's one of the ways that you can really start building the trust of the other members in the other clubs.
Thank you, Albert, for another very valuable suggestion to all of our current and incoming AGs. I'd like to hear from the one or two of the AGs. What has been your most rewarding moment as an AG? What would make you say, yes, I will do it for a second year versus not?
I can go here.
Thanks, Vero.
that I do was have a meeting with my presidents and secretaries on a monthly basis. Once in a while, we had to, put it, miss a month, but usually we try to keep it on a monthly basis. And early in the day, I told them that I wanted to foster a unity among the Nord clubs because, excuse my voice, it's still recuperating, but I wanted to foster unity among the Nord clubs and not for us to continue operating in silos. And so we decided we would do 3 activities that would involve the clubs, all the clubs. And while they were difficult to pull off because we are 5 clubs that really do operate in silos, so this was new to them, we did pull it off about 2 successful activities. And there was this appreciation of me wanting to do this. And it felt really good that I was able to accomplish with the assistance of the presidents and secretaries 2 successful activities that called on every single club in the Nord cluster to unite for a successful event. So yeah, I think I'll do it. That's one reason I felt as though I can do this again, because I feel as though my job is not ended. There's so much more to be done. And I was very grateful that DGE Soraya asked me to do a second term. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, AG Veronica. And we talk about the collaboration in both of our presentations earlier. Okay. I have a question for Soraya now. I wanted to find out from her. I know that we have 5 new AGs coming on stream, and I'd like her to explain to us what did she see in these 5 individuals? Not identifying them specifically, but what were some of those core characteristics that she thought these individuals display?
Thank you, dear Tanya. So if you are here as an assistant governor, it means that you have been, first of all, highly recommended by your peers, highly recommended by district leadership. And as such, you are displaying the attributes, the qualities of leadership, the fact that you have been a really good team player, you have been a club president that exhibited, or you were a highly successful club president leading your club such that your club is highly functioning and displaying, as I said, the leadership qualities that we need at that level. So if you are here, you have been very highly recommended by your peers and by the district leadership, for sure. But I also want to add, though, that when we're talking about building trust, that you have to first establish the relationship with your clubs. And particularly coming in as a new leader, you want to start interacting with your club leaders from now, reaching out, asking how can you help, asking whether we can get together to talk about what your goals, what your priorities look like for your club heading into the new year. It has to start with a conversation first, and has to start very early such that you can start to build that relationship and build that level of trust that you are essentially working towards. One of the things that you can help right now, help the leadership with right now is your club leaders, your incoming club leaders, whether they have registered for PELS, because we know that PELS training is absolutely important, but yet we have some clubs who have not yet registered. And so that is something that an incoming assistant governor should be supportive of, should be engaging the incoming leaders right now to try to understand what the issues are, what their challenges are. Why is it that they do not see attending PELS is important? We have some clubs who have not yet identified a president. What is the issue? Have you asked the question, how can I help? What support do you need? Do you need any support from district leaders to help? Because our job is to ensure that our clubs thrive. And if at this stage of the game, we do not have a president identified in some clubs, then we have an issue. And so we want our assistant governors to be very, very proactive. We want them to demonstrate the leadership qualities that we identified in the first place in how they manage and handle clubs. And so we also expect for them to reach out to say, well, we're having this issue, as opposed to the district governor having to ask the question, well, what is the issue with this particular club? We really want to encourage AGs to be proactive, right? And to reach out to the leadership, that be me at this point in time, and engage and have open dialogue about how you see your club thriving. Because remember, as I started off by saying, that is our job, to support our clubs, to make sure that our clubs are functioning effectively. And we all know what an effective club looks like. And so perhaps I've extended that question, but I think this is important for the AGs on the call to understand, right? That you have to get intimately involved in your clubs. Now, I know that we have to find that balance, and the idea is not for us to impose our leadership, but at the same time, we have to understand what is happening in our clubs so that we can support them exactly how they need that support. Thank you.
Can I say something here? There was Samuel past AG, and I would like to suggest to the incoming AGs that they have a resource in past AGs that they could call upon. You know, I think some of us are here willing to help. Not that we want to control, but I think in the background we can give us some assistance in terms of helping you to navigate this challenge. So I want to throw that out there, and for whatever it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you, PDG Errol. PDG David, please.
Yeah, thanks. And I don't want to intrude, but just a comment based on some of the things I've heard. And this is speaking now globally, so I'm not pointing at anyone in 70-30 or 70-20 or whatever. This is global. There's been a lot of competition to be governor and assistant governor in a lot of districts in the, let's say, the last 10-12 years. It's become almost a competition, a lot driven by social media and so on. Everybody wants to be, looks good to be the governor or the assistant governor. And so it's a competition, the way I see it. But, you know, if you wait to the time that you are appointed a governor, however you got appointed as an assistant governor, whether by asking or being recommended or, you know, whatever, you should not be then learning the members in the clubs in your area. If you're going to be representing 3 or 4 clubs that have 90 members, if that much, you should not be learning them when you meet with them, if you meet with them after you become the governor. The traditional way was that you were chosen because you were known, you know your clubs, and you just slip in as the governor, the assistant governor, and take over. But I'm saying that to say this: you have to learn the clubs in your area, in your neck of the woods, wherever that is, whether it's 2 clubs, 3 clubs, or whatever. You should be visiting those clubs as a member normally. It is very important. to do makeups at other clubs. That's how you learn other club ways of doing things, number one, and you get to know the members. It's not great to be, as I said, in an area that has only, say, 80 members in all the clubs, and you go to a function and you don't know the members from the other club. It's just not good enough. So that's the best way, is to do makeups. And a good suggestion would be to take your club, always start with your club. That's the best, because you should know the people there. And like once a month or once a quarter, take some of the new ones to another club with you as a makeup and introduce them around, so everybody gets to know everybody. That's to me, that's where it should start, not at the level of becoming the AG or being appointed AG. It should start long before that. So that's just a suggestion, and hopefully it will help you, both yourself and the members of your club and the other clubs, interact with one another. Thanks, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you, PDG David. And of course, it gives us the opportunity to best serve our communities, because when we understand what our other clubs are doing, then we can really portray ourselves as one Rotary rather than a group of Rotary clubs working or not working together. We have our final question from Leighton Khan. Leighton is our incoming district secretary. Please, Leighton.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Tanya, and good evening, fellow Rotarians. First, let me apologize. I missed a substantial part of the meeting because I was trying to connect on the road on my cell phone, and it kept dropping. So I only heard about 2 minutes of Lara at the beginning. Anyhow, I just wanted to pick up on David's point regarding AGs, but more specifically on the process that is used to select the incoming AGs. And I want to mention that because it seemed to be a source of concern for some members. My understanding is that AGs are selected by the incoming AG, by the incoming DG, who would rely a lot on the existing AG to make recommendations as to who might be a good AG. And it so happens that the clubs themselves don't really have a say, or historically have not had an input in who becomes the AG. Now, I'm not sure if this is an issue in the other territories, but certainly in my experience, members would question, well, how did that person become AG when we as a club had no say in the matter? Now, I have no problem with the process, but for some people, it's an issue, and it even caused some resentment. And it's not unusual for an AG to be somewhat shunned by his home club sometimes, because if they had a choice, they would have probably nominated someone else. And so it could get a little ticklish when the general membership feel, well, we had no say in who became AG. And therefore, we don't really feel bound to support them, especially if it's someone they would not have selected. So I'm just curious to know if that's an issue in other territories and how best we might address that problem. Thank you.
I see, sir. Sir, if I may interject,
I'll let you
I
go
try to
ahead.
help there with that experience
Yeah.
with what Lathan is speaking about. So that brings up the point. That brings up the point, and I hate to. I agree with Lara when she says about change. So change is inevitable, and we all have to change. I'm the oldest in the group, but I still keep changing. I think I change as much as I think is necessary. However, it's good to look back sometimes on your point, Lathan, because in my day, as I would put it, we used to network, for the want of a better description, at district conferences and so on. When I became governor, I knew who I wanted to be my governor. I didn't have to ask any president or any country. I had a good idea already of who I wanted, and I would then run it and say, well, Lathan, John Brown John Brown and your club is who I intend to think anything, against them. That type of thing. You sort of knew who you want. Unfortunately, we have reached a stage, and again, I said I have the privilege to see a lot of clubs worldwide, and I know this is a problem. A lot of districts where the incoming governors don't nowadays have that same contact, if you want a better description, and depend heavily then where you are coming from on a club or an individual to tell them who, and that sometimes does not go down particularly well with the other half of the club, if you want to put it that way, and that's where that problem comes. So hard to get away from. You have to depend on the word of who you ask, type of thing, and it's a difficult situation. Very difficult, because, and that brings back the point I was making earlier, it's almost a competition now, so it's very difficult.
Thank you, PDG. David. I do know that PDG Lyle is on the call. Do you want to offer any words of wisdom before we close off? I know I'm putting you on the
Thanks, DG. I'm competing with dogs here, so I will have to decline. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate. But thank
Last
you.
word from you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, AG, Past Assistant Governor Lathan, for bringing that up. I know it was something that was raised. In fact, I've heard it raised before. I think it came up at the last conference that we had. But for the time being, that is the process that we have in place currently for selecting. What I am committing to do, though, is to ensure that clubs are aware from early, certainly before the year starts, who the incoming assistant governor is, so that it is not a surprise then to club members, as I think that has been part of the problem before, where clubs are unaware of who the assistant governor is until, well, the year has started and the assistant governor themselves announced that they are now wearing the hat. So it is something that we want to do formally this year. So we literally will be writing to every single club, announcing that this is the assistant governor, speaking to the roles and the expectations surrounding the assistant governor role, to try and appease whatever issues that may arise as a result of this Rotarian taking up that role. So hopefully that will assist going forward. I think it's almost 9 o'clock and we have essentially run out of time. I really want to say thank you to the assistant governors who, as I said, gave up their time to be a part of this orientation. I know we covered a lot. It was only an hour and a half, and perhaps we needed to have much more time to delve deeper into the topics, but it was only intended to give you an overview. We did speak about My Rotary and the Learning Center that literally has a wealth of knowledge. Rotary expends significant resources in ensuring that the Learning Center can provide you with a lot of information and help you to do your role better. And so I appeal to all of you here to visit the center, ensure that you take up the Assistant Governor Basics course. And yeah, let's get ready. Let's do like incoming President Mario suggested, let's become the best qualified volunteers in Rotary. I thank you so much for this evening, and I look forward to seeing all of you at conference in Trinidad, and of course on the PELS online training series. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone. See you soon again.